What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and all of this Palpatine clone stuff for the Rise of Skywalker has really blown up over the past couple days, and yesterday there was a clip going around of Ian McDiarmid answering a question. Now it's like a 45-minute long clip, but I think people are really jumping to the wrong conclusion because they're not listening to that entire interview, at least the parts that actually matter. But we're going to look at this Bounding in a Comics article, and then we're going to look at what Ian McDiarmid actually said, not only the little bit that's going around, but the whole context, which is important. Emperor Palpatine actor Ian McDiarmid confirms clone line cut from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Emperor Palpatine, Ian McDiarmid, recently confirmed that confirmation that his character was a clone was cut from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Ian McDiarmid's comments came after the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker retconned Palpatine into a clone. And you can see the line right here from the book. "What could you give me?" Kylo asked. Emperor Palpatine lived after a fashion, and Kylo could feel in his very bones that this clone body sheltered the Emperor's actual spirit. Not sure what kind of new force power it is that you can sense when someone's a clone, but evidently Kylo felt it in his bones. So, who knows? McDiarmid confirms there was actually dialogue in the first draft of Rise of Skywalker that confirmed his character was inhabiting a clone body. Now, I don't think that that's true. I don't think that what he is about to say is any confirmation of that at all. But let's take a listen to it. You guys can judge for yourselves. We'll listen to this, and then we'll put it in more context when we listen to something later on. Here we go. Let's listen to the man himself.
The cloning thing now.
The cloning thing, yes. Well, of course, there were all sorts of explanations for why I might return. But it's interesting, there was, I think I can reveal something. At one point, the script had the line in that first scene with Adam, when he says, "You're a clone." And I said in that original script, which is no longer with us, more than a clone, less than a man, which seemed to me to sum him up, really, because...
So that is the line that everyone's happening. In the first thing, Adam Driver says, "You're a clone." And he says, "More than a clone, less than a man." Evidently, people are taking that and running with it and saying, "Wow, look, he was actually a clone." I think that that's not exactly what he's saying, but I get why you might say that. Let's listen to the rest of what he says when he's talking about Snoke being a clone, and then we'll add some context.
Because we knew that, well, the camera has already snaked past the clone tank, in which there are various versions of Snoke that you probably noticed. Spin it back and have a look. Well, you can't yet, can you? But you'll be able to once it's on Disney Plus, I think. Not too far distant future. So Snoke was a clone. He did. Palpatine was responsible for everything. He made everything in one way or another.
And then he goes on to talk about how basically everyone who did any evil in a lot of the saga was kind of influenced by Palpatine. That's what he goes on to say. Now, he's talking very specifically about Snoke being a clone when asked about cloning. And I think that's telling. Now, we're going to move on to something, because what does this do? If Palpatine is a clone, and let me take it down for a second, if Palpatine's a clone, this raises so many more questions, such as, why is his body so old and deteriorated and decrepit? Now, I get it, can't contain his spirit. They ripped this off from Dark Empire. The clone body could not contain his spirit, right? But why wouldn't you transfer in another clone? You have seemingly limitless resources. You've built 10,000 Star Destroyers. You have millions of people. You're telling me you can't clone another body of yourself to transfer into that maybe wouldn't be so old and nasty and have to be supported that way? Why is his face deformed? Why, when he restores himself, and I'll throw up a picture right here, why when he restores himself does he still have his facial injuries that he sustained during his duel with Mace Windu in the prequels? If it's a clone body, he wouldn't have that. Why are his fingers so messed up and burnt if his body was a clone body? So many things don't make sense. Why wouldn't he just, if he gets killed now, what's to say his essence is gone? If he can just transfer into a clone body, what's to say he can't do it again sometime in the future? Is it just because Rey's that much better? These are all the questions that it brings up. Now, let's listen to something else that Mr. Ian McDiarmid says in regards to this, that hopefully maybe will provide a little more context to what they actually were doing in the movie.
Return to Jedi. But in the original script, there was much more physical detail, pretty horrific physical detail, which I wasn't surprised sort of went as the scripts evolved. But I think, see, originally, JJ perhaps felt that we had to explain, you know, how he was physically treated when Vader chucked him down that shaft.
So how he was physically treated when Vader chucked him down that shaft, they felt like they had to answer that. That's interesting. If it's a clone, why would they feel like they need to answer that at all? But we'll let him explain more.
And then after a while, we thought, well, I don't think that needs to be over-explained. You'll see that terrible face, and you'll see he's in a contraption, some kind of support machine, a little advanced on the contemporary wheelchair, and that will probably say all we need to say.
So we want to explain what happened to him when he fell down the shaft. What happened to his body? Why is his body so messed up because of him going down this shaft? But then we looked at his messed up face. We looked at the fact that he was barely being kept alive. And we figured that's all the explaining we need to do. Now, one, that's stupid because it's obviously not all the explaining you need to do. But two, why would you need to explain if it was a clone body? If this Palpatine is a clone, why would you have to freaking explain that? You wouldn't have to, would you? No, because the final answer, and we'll let him explain a little more, make sure we didn't miss anything, but the final answer is that this, in Rise of Skywalker, he is not a clone. That's not what he is.
And the whole process of making a film, anyway, is about paring away, pulling back to what you really need to get to the essentials. So that was the progression. But as far as thinking what happened previously, that mind kept alive somehow. I don't know, you probably noticed a few tubes coming out of his body early on. And also he was able to be as commanding, obviously, as he had been, because look at that army. Yeah. You know, he made that. But the thing, and the most frustrating thing for him at the beginning of the movie, is he can't get back to his old self. He doesn't.
So if you didn't catch it, he said that he was kept alive somehow. That's what he said. Not that it's a clone. He did not say that. He talked about a line that was cut where he said, more than a clone, less than a man. If you're using this as some sort of confirmation that, oh, well, Palpatine did say it, I guess he actually was supposed to be a clone, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should watch the rest of the video. Maybe you didn't watch the rest of this video, and maybe that's where the disconnect is. Personally, I don't think there's any way you can listen to the second half of what I showed you and think that he is a clone. Bottom line, this is a retcon. The rest of the Bounty in a Comics article goes over basically exactly what we already said, a lot of the quotes, but they didn't go into the ones in the future that we looked at. I can go ahead and take this down. I think that, listen, you can feel whatever you want. If this revelation changes Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker for you and it makes it some kind of enjoyable movie and now it makes sense about Palpatine, then go for it. It doesn't for me. It does not make any sense. This is a one-paragraph retcon in the novel. They thought that they didn't go into enough detail. You wouldn't be able to tell one way or the other in the movie. But it's too late because what Ian McDiarmid said is out there. You can't just take that first 45 seconds and forget about the last 2 minutes of that where he's talking about his physical appearance and what happened to him when Vader threw him down the shaft. They wouldn't need to worry about that if he was a clone. He is not a clone in this movie. Just saying, guys. Just saying. But let me know your thoughts. Maybe I'm completely off base and really misreading. I want to know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone. And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.